So I was watching this video about this hyped up pizza place in New York City when they showed a spreadsheet that stopped me in my tracks.
We're trying to control all the variables here.
We record the weights of every single flour. We record the ambient temperature. We record the weight of the starter, the temperature of the water that we used.
If something goes wrong, we can go back into the dough log, look at the previous day, and see what was slightly off.
Okay, it's very cool how detail-oriented they are, but this is not going to be the most useful way to capture this data. There's a few things right off the bat that could stand to be improved. For one, they've got numbers kind of mixed together with text in a way that's going to make it really hard to do any kind of calculation or visualization of this data. They are recording each day as a new column on the sheet instead of as a new row or record in a database, where each field or column would be that metric or measurement that you're tracking. That would be the better way to do it. And then along the bottom here, I also see that they have separate tabs for each month as opposed to having one single source of truth for all of this data that they could really track over time. I'm Alex McDonald, and I've helped hundreds of businesses improve their operations using AI and Airtable. Let's transform this spreadsheet into a clean, unique business app for this pizza shop. At the end of this video, we'll just be able to ask AI what might have gone wrong with today's dough, and it will analyze all of our data to come up with the right answer. All right, let's get started in Airtable and build our app. So we have opened up Omni here. You see Omni's little animated face in the top. And I've built out my prompt. I'll just talk you through what's in here. So what I essentially did was just give a little bit of specific instruction on what we're trying to do. We're trying to create this daily log of all these different measurements about pizza dough. And the key question we're trying to answer here is around quality and consistency. If I notice that something is off with the dough, I want to be able to compare the variables from that day to a previous day. And then what I did was I just took a screenshot from the actual video where they were showing the spreadsheet, and then I just extracted all of the different data points that they seem to be keeping track of. We don't get a full view of the spreadsheet there, but as best as we can, what we are actually going to be tracking here. Then I'm just going to ask Omni to go ahead and start building. So Omni gets started here, building out some of our data structure and inputting some sample data. Omni's also going to create some interfaces to help us visualize and interact with this data. And there we go. Just like that, we've made a start on this application. So right off the bat, let's make some quick changes. I'll change it to blue. That was the brand of the pizza place in this video here. Let's have a look at the different interfaces that Omni created. So we've got a calendar view. We've got a review of our daily log. So this is pretty nice. It looks like we can pop open this side pane here and just put in all of that information. Now, this will be nice and familiar to our end users who are used to doing this kind of vertically, putting in each data point. But now we actually have data structure, which I'll show you in a second, in the data layer. And then things also get exciting when you think about how we can start to visualize some of this data, just the sample data in here right now. But you can imagine we can build out some graphs and visualizations now that we're actually dealing with structured data and numbers, not just kind of text and numbers mixed together on a spreadsheet. So now let's move into the data layer here in Airtable. We've got just one table in this app, which is our daily logs. And each record here is going to represent the log of a given day. And so we have all of these different variables that we're measuring: the amount of different flour, the ambient humidity, starter, weights, hydration, different temperatures, all kinds of different variables that might affect the final output quality. Looks like Omni got mostly everything right that I had in mind. It used a text notes field here as my primary field. In Airtable, you want this primary field to be something that's unique to each record. So I'm going to manually change that here just by pointing and clicking to the date field. There we go. Now our date is actually serving as that primary field. Of course, I want to sort by that date as well. Probably put the most recent ones at the top when I'm inspecting my data here. And so now we have clearly separated out the actual numeric values, which we're going to use to perform analysis calculations, from any text notes and other kind of qualitative information that we might want to input. This is a really important distinction between how that spreadsheet was being managed and what we can now do in Airtable with structured data types. So we're capturing all these input variables. We also want to make sure we have some kind of output variable. So I'm sure the pizza guys have some very nuanced way of reflecting the final quality. For simplicity here, let's just use a 5-star rating of a quality score. And then we'll also have a text field here for any more qualitative notes. So in just a few minutes here, we've gone from a spreadsheet that looked like this, which would be very difficult to use for any real analysis or calculation. You would basically just be scanning the different columns with your eyes to try to figure out what the differences are that may have led to some quality concerns, to a unique app looking like this that has true structured data. And now we can ask Omni that critical question. So let's say we had an off day here on 12/29. We had a 3-star rating and we had some notes about issues with the crumb or the crust. Let's ask Omni to inspect all the input variables we captured meticulously for that day, compare it to the historical data, and make some judgment or some best guess about why the dough on that day may have been flawed. Omni goes to work analyzing the data for that day and comparing it with the historical data. And there we go. In just a few seconds, Omni has come up with a diagnosis looking at the input water temperature as well as environmental conditions that may have affected the quality of the dough on that day. It's even made comparisons to other days where the quality was excellent and assess the difference in the variables for those days. So that's how quickly you can go from a spreadsheet that looks like that to a clean business app built just for you with Airtable.